Hello guys, welcome to Physics Grad. This is the second video on canonical transformations, and in this we are going to see some examples of some transformations and see whether it is canonical or not. Or in other words, we are going to see how to check whether a given transformation is canonical transformations or not. Okay, so for this consider a transformation from our old generalized coordinates and momenta to some new generalized coordinates and momenta. Now the question is how to check if this is a canonical transformation. If this is a canonical transformation. So how do we check this? Okay, so first of all, as we defined earlier, canonical transformations are those which preserve the form of the Hamilton's equations, which means that our new coordinates and momenta must satisfy the equations q dot equal to dou h dash by dou p and p dot equal to minus dou h dash by dou q. Let me call this equation 1, this both. Okay, so that is there must exist a new Hamiltonian h dash such that 1 is satisfied. So if we cannot find a h dash such that we can relate our new p's and q's in this manner, it means that transformation cannot be canonical because it implies that it cannot preserve the form of the Hamilton's equation. Okay. Now, if you notice the following quantities, so consider dou p dot by dou p. This is equal to, by using the fact that p dot is equal to dou h dash by dou q, negative of that quantity, we say that this is equal to minus dou h dash by dou p dou q. Now when I differentiate it, so this should be dou square. Okay, so when I differentiate it like this, I can choose any order. So this is also equal to minus dou by dou q of dou h dash by dou p, but dou h dash by dou p is nothing but q dot, so this is equal to minus dou q dot by dou q. Okay, so let me call this equation as equation 2, this particular relation. Okay, also the transformation should remain valid in the above sense for any system. Okay, so the transformation should remain valid in the above sense, in the sense that the Hamilton's equations remain preserved for any system, which is in another way saying that for any functional form of the original Hamiltonian H. Okay, which means that if we have a particular transformation of this form, if it satisfies this particular relation for a given system, it must satisfy this relation for any system. Only then, not only for a particular system, but any system defined by any Hamiltonian H, you should be able to find a h dash such that this relation is valid. Only then we call it as a canonical transformation. So that is what I mean by saying that the transformation should remain valid for any system. Okay, which means that it can, if you take for example a free particle, its Hamiltonian will have a different functional form as compared to a particle which is experiencing some force when it is kept in some field. Okay, so for both the systems, that the same transformations when you apply should still behave in this manner, in the sense that it should follow the equation 2. Okay, so that is the canonical transformation must not change the form of the Hamilton's equation across all systems. Must not change the form of Hamilton's equations for all systems. Okay, so now let us consider some examples and check whether it can be a canonical transformation or not. So as our first example, we are going to consider the transformation which is given as follows. The new momenta is given as the old momenta times the time, and the new coordinate is given as the old coordinates times the time. Okay, then we see that our P dot is equal to just P, from this equation we see that this is equal to P by T. Similarly, our Q dot is equal to Q, which is Q by T. So now if I calculate dou P dot by dou P, this is nothing but equal to 1 by T, because P dot is equal to P by T. Similarly, if I calculate dou Q dot by dou T, this is equal to again 1 by T. So if you notice here, the relation dou P dot by dou P is not equal to minus dou Q dot by dou T, because they both are equal, not negative of each other. So since this is not satisfied, that is equation 2 is not satisfied, this is not a canonical transformation. Okay, so therefore this is not a canonical transformation. Okay, why? Because there cannot exist a H dash such that equation 1, which is our Hamilton's, the form of the Hamilton's equations, is still valid. So this is because there cannot exist a Hamiltonian H dash which depends on the new coordinates such that equation 1 is followed. Okay, but if you notice, this transformation is independent and it is invertible, which means that our new coordinates and momenta still have this exact same information as that of the old coordinate and momenta. Okay, so therefore it is still possible to get the equations of motion, but the catch is that we cannot use Hamilton's equations to find the equations of motion, but we have to use some other kind of transformations. Okay, but we cannot use Hamiltonian formulation. Okay, so let's write that down. So note, this doesn't mean we cannot find equations of motion. We cannot find equations of motion from our knowledge of Q and P. Okay, but we can't use our Hamilton's equations to find this. We must resort to some other method. Okay, so the whole point of canonical transformations is to make sure that we can use our Hamilton's equations to solve the motion, and our canonical transformations will make our problem easier to solve if in the new set of variables the Hamiltonian is cyclic with respect to as many variables as possible. Okay, now before we proceed, what does this physically mean? Okay, physically, why doesn't this kind of a transformation allow us to find a new Hamiltonian H dash? Okay, and the reason for this is hidden in the following important property about the generalized coordinates and momenta, which is the following. So note, this is very important. Although Q and P need not have dimensions of length and linear momentum, the quantity PQ dot must have the dimensions of work. This is because our Hamiltonian is defined as PQ dot minus L, which is a Legendre transformation, and we know that our Hamiltonian is the same as our energy. Therefore, the dimension of Hamiltonian must have the dimension of energy, which is same as dimension of work. And this equation is dimensionally correct only if all of these individual quantities have the same dimensions. And that is the reason why PQ dot, no matter what the dimensions of P and Q individually, should have the dimension of work. Okay, so this implies that if PQ dot has dimension of work, in order to find the Hamilton's equation in terms of the new variables, we should be able to define a Hamiltonian H dash, which again should have the dimensions of energy, which means if PQ dot has dimensions of work, the new variables PQ dot must also have dimensions of work. But in this transformation, this kind of transformation, this is not the case, because our PQ dot, if you calculate, our Q dot is basically equal to dou Q by dou T plus dou Q by dou Q into Q dot. Okay, this turns out to be Q plus Q dot T. Okay, now this particular quantity has the dimension of Q, because Q dot is basically dimensions of Q divided by dimension of time multiplied by time will give back the dimension of Q. So therefore our dimension of this is going to be, our P has the dimension of, since P is defined as PT, the P has dimensions of P multiplied with time, whereas our Q dot has the dimension of Q. Whereas our dimensions of this guy is going to be dimensions of P, dimensions of Q divided by dimensions of time. So clearly these two do not have the same dimensions, which means that these two do not have the dimensions, or if this is the dimension of work, this cannot be the dimension of work, and therefore it is not possible to write an equation of this form, PQ dot minus L dash, because H dash should always represent energy. So that means it should have dimensions of energy, and this is the reason why there cannot exist H dash for this transformation, and therefore this is not a canonical transformation. Okay, so I hope that that particular example is clear. Okay, so next let us consider another example, example 2. Here we consider the transformation P equal to some constant alpha P plus beta Q and Q equal to some gamma P plus small delta Q. Okay, now this in matrix notation can be written as PQ equal to alpha beta gamma delta PQ. Okay, this implies we can, of course, for it to be canonical, these equations must be invertible. So the inverse of this matrix must exist. So our PQ will be written as alpha, beta, gamma, delta inverse PQ, which we know that it is equal to 1 by the determinant. Here the delta is nothing but the determinant times the adjoint of this transpose of this matrix, which will be equal to our delta minus gamma minus beta and alpha times PQ. Okay, which implies that if this is our transformation equation, our inverse transforms will look like this, times delta P minus gamma Q and Q equal to 1 by delta minus beta P plus alpha Q. Okay, all right. So here I am going to call this equation 3. Okay, now let us make note of the following. For this transformation to be valid, okay, for this kind of transformation to be valid, for this transformation to be valid, the choice of P and Q, the choice of P and Q must be such that they both should have the same dimensions. They both should have the same dimensions. Otherwise, writing this kind of an equation is invalid in physics. Okay, but again note that the choice of P and Q doesn't depend on the system. We are free to choose it anyhow we want depending on the problem. Okay, but when we write such a transformation equation, this equation is valid only if we choose our P and Q such that both should have the same dimensions. Okay, all right. So once you make note of that, now from these two equations, let us calculate what will be the value of capital P dot and capital Q dot. So our capital P dot will be equal to alpha P dot plus beta Q dot, which is equal to minus alpha times dou H by dou Q. I am just using our Hamilton's equation for our old variables, plus beta times dou H by dou P. Okay, this I am going to call F1, which is going to be a function of P, Q and T, because our Hamilton function is a function of P, Q and T. Similarly, our Q dot will be equal to gamma P dot plus delta Q dot, which is equal to minus gamma times dou H by dou Q plus delta times dou H by dou P. This let me call F2 of PQT. Okay, now from this, so in this relation what we need to do is we need to write PQ using 3, that is for each of the P and Q in these functions can be replaced using these relations which are in terms of P's, capital P's and Q's. Okay, so wherever there is P and Q, I am going to replace it with these quantities. So when I do that, I can get our F1 and F2 in terms of the capital P and Q's. Okay, so if we do this, then we can find the quantities dou P dot by dou P and dou Q dot by dou Q. Okay, now in order to do this, obviously we cannot proceed unless we know what the form of this Hamiltonian is. So for the sake of simplifying the mathematics, let us consider the Hamiltonian for a free particle. Okay, so consider H for free particle, which is going to be equal to P square by 2m. So this implies that dou H by dou Q is going to be 0, dou H by dou P is going to be P by M. Okay, so then our P dot is going to become, so these two terms go to 0, so this will be just beta by M times P, which is equal to beta by M into 1 by delta. I'm just substituting for P using equation 3, delta P minus beta Q. Similarly, our Q dot is going to be del by M P, which is del by M into 1 by delta times del P minus beta Q. Okay, so from this we see that dou P dot by dou P is just going to be beta gamma by M delta, and dou Q dot by dou Q is going to be minus beta delta by M delta. So this implies the relation dou P dot by dou P equal to minus dou Q dot by dou Q is satisfied. Okay, in fact you can check that this will be true for any valid H. Okay, this implies that this is valid across all systems. So what I'm saying here is that you cannot find a Hamiltonian functional form of Hamiltonian for which this equation will break. Okay, this equation is always valid no matter what Hamiltonian function you use. Okay, so therefore this is a canonical transformation. So therefore this is a canonical transformation. Okay, so before we finish, let us consider just one more example, and here we are going to consider the following transformation: P equal to P cos Q and Q equal to P sin Q. Okay, now here the inverse equations will be P equal to root of P square plus Q square and Q equal to tan inverse of Q by P. Okay, then here our P dot is going to be P dot cos Q minus Q dot P sin Q. This is by just using the basic differentiation rule, product rule, which becomes equal to, using our Hamilton's relation, minus dou H by dou Q times cos Q minus dou H by dou P times sin Q. Similarly, our Q dot will be equal to P dot sin Q plus Q dot P cos Q, which is equal to minus dou H by dou Q sin Q plus dou H by dou P cos Q. Okay, now if you consider H equal to P square by 2m, which is the free particle, you can check in a similar fashion how we did here. You can check it yourself, that check that you will indeed get the relation dou P dot by dou P equal to minus dou Q dot by dou Q. Okay, but this is going to involve some lengthy algebra, so that is the reason I am skipping that, because there is no physics in it. You can take it as an exercise and check it for yourself. So this relation, you will get it as valid for when you consider this as your Hamiltonian, but for the Hamiltonian H equal to P square by 2m plus mgq, which is basically particle under a gravitational potential, if you wish, gravitational potential. Then if you use this functional form for the Hamiltonian, then again you can check that you will get dou p dot by dou p is not equal to minus dou q dot by dou q. So what this implies is that therefore this transformation does not preserve the form of Hamilton's equations for all functional forms of our original Hamiltonian, which means it doesn't preserve Hamilton equations across all systems. But for our transformations to be canonical, we have noted down that it should not change the form of Hamilton's equation for all systems, because in this particular transformation example, the equation is valid only for a particular choice of Hamiltonian H, but not for any valid choice of H. Okay, and our canonical transformation should be valid for any valid choice of H, and therefore this is not a canonical transformation. Okay, so with these examples, I hope that you have understood what is the meaning of canonical transformations and when do we say that a given transformation is indeed canonical or not. Alright, thank you for watching. See you next time.